to see a slightly different priority, because suddenly Thresh is a big proponent now as potentially a first pick for a Chei, because if Jankos is comfortable playing both Lucian and Elise, both junglers are there, as Graves was the last ban away. So I think maybe you pivot to a different pick here and look to pressure out Mysterious Monkeys. I'm not an H2K, I'm not Prolly. That's not what they do. I still think Elise is a fantastic first pick.
Yeah. Clearly it's enough to warrant giving up the Thresh, but it didn't seem to fluster Chei too much to play up against it. I'm curious to see if the Monkeys end up blocking that one again, or if they go a different track.
I feel like you have to within the current meta. Everybody is valuing Thresh so highly. You compare it with the Twitch, you compare it with just about anything, and there's the Lee Sin we were talking about if it does get locked in.
It's Kha'Zix again, though.
Okay.
Monkeys are doubling down.
I mean, Lamabear didn't exactly seem like the problem. We had a little bit of a discussion on Kha'Zix, and it's still a pick that can work. Depending on what the rest of them draft, I'll hold reservations on Mysterious Monkeys comp for now. I think Dreams did a good job on the Thresh. With the one engage we saw in the bottom lane, did capitalize on H2K, and it looks like we're actually having the same draft again for now. Of course, that LeBlanc won't be available.
Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but that would be a little bit of a shift up. I think Febiven's just having a little bit of fun. He piloted the Lucian last time around as it was flexed out. Will that be the same case here? H2K thinking it over right now. Maybe they want something a little tankier down bot. They do. It is the Braum locked in.
Well, Braum has been paired with Lucian historically. Obviously very good bottom lane synergy, but Braum does very well into the Thresh. Typically, you can deny a lot of engages. So this is, again, H2K saying, we're flexing the Lucian. Could still be in the bottom lane as well. You'd anticipate it to be mid lane, and here's a pick we talked about for CozQ as one of those comfort picks. Cassiopeia, very confident in playing this into most matchups, although he will give away quite a lot of early laning pressure against Lucian.
Yeah, but this is a very different style of lane matchup, right? Like, he's almost banking on the fact that he's going to be pushed in just a little bit. That might give Lamabear some more opportunities, even in a short lane, to try and open up some ganks.
There's a few nuances in Cassiopeia's kit that can stop the Lucian in his tracks, because of course you can't E over the grounded ability on Miasma. If you do get locked down, Lucian's damage just ceases to exist. So CozQ may very well be able to play comfortably in this lane, but again, Mysterious Monkeys just doing their due diligence, trying to deny any funny business with swapping around mid lane down to AD carry for Lucian.
Still taking it to the mid lane bans on their side with the Orianna removed. It's followed up by the Caitlyn. Once again, Mysterious Monkeys hadn't selected their AD carry in the first phase, but I wouldn't be too surprised to see the Twitch once again. Might be hard to break through the Braum shield. We'll see as there's another ban going the Monkeys' way. It's going to be another Fiora. So
Fiora sets up potentially for another Galio for Jisu. The Shen would be available if H2K wants it, as it hasn't been banned away yet. Is it going to be the Twitch ban out of H2K? Will they look at another option? Maybe they'll just ban the Galio and say, okay, we'll take away a difficult pick to play against.
It is the Twitch indeed, so we'll see what Yuki ends up going towards this time around. If he picks his AD carry on this rotation.
If they were to pick Galio here, it would show both solo laners and allow H2K to heavily utilize this flex potential. Yuki, the Varus is one of the most likely picks to take out here.
There it is.
As the Caitlyn is already gone. So now H2K have the ability to decide, do they want to take the Galio for themselves, build quite a tanky front line between Braum and Galio, and then decide where their magic damage is coming from. But if they're playing double AD carry, maybe this is a Rumble rotation here. There are the likes of the Fizz still available if you want to play it. That's another pick.
There's a lot of options up top right now for Odoamne. And
depends what kind of lane they want to play.
Yeah, well, it looks like we will not have the Flex Lucian as the Viktor's locked in for Febiven. And all that leaves is where do they go up top? Is it going to be the Galio?
It allows you to go the Galio because suddenly you now have that AP damage threat alongside that Lucian. Lucian Braum for that bottom lane can play into Varus Thresh. They don't get heavily outranged like a Caitlyn would on a Lucian. Excited to see Nuclear and Chei playing maybe a bit more of an active lane when it comes to trades and how they actually effectively can work in that lane.
Nuclear was fairly hyped during the spring split for some pretty solid performances out of him. We didn't see it as much in the playoffs as they had a very early exit in the spring split, but this could be the old school bully lane that they need to just unlock them against Yuki and Dreams. Last pick comes in for Jisu. It is going to be the Shen. So at the very least, the Monkeys will have a few more shields to count on. And there's always that submarine possibility. When you pair a Kha'Zix up with that Shen, there can be a whole lot of fun had.
This is quite reminiscent of the picks we were seeing from Mysterious Monkeys in the promotion tournament and playoffs. A lot of Cassiopeia, the Shen, the Kha'Zix. I'm excited to see whether they can utilize that top side of the map a little bit better than they did in the last game, because short of a few kills early on, H2K were able to control the side lanes, didn't even lose their outer towers, and really punished Mysterious Monkeys for not being able to break some of those early structures.
Only managed to get the one with the help of the Rift Herald, but we still saw that they had a few tricks up their sleeves. Maybe they'll be able to pull out enough to stop H2K from claiming another 2-0 victory in week 1, but wouldn't that be something for these guys to get off to a flying start? 4-0, you have to be pretty confident after pulling that one out, and H2K are going to be gunning for it. Don't forget to keep letting us know at home who you think is going to take this one away. Do H2K lock it up right here, right now, and shut down the LCS newcomers? If you think so, at EL eSports is the place on Twitter, hashtag H2KWin. And of course, if you believe in the full rookie squad of the Mysterious Monkeys, you know what to do. Double M, W-I-N. We'll see who comes up with it right now. Comfortable composition for H2K. Mysterious Monkeys, though, they're looking for some comfort of their own when they butt heads. Only one is going to take the victory. Can the Monkeys fight back? We're hearing a lot of noise for these guys. It's encouraging, Stress. I want to see how fast they can get started on the Rift.
Well, it wasn't necessarily the start of the game that was quick from them. It was the end of the game that they were fighting and fighting, and suddenly H2K were able to take the win. But as we're onto the Rift, Mysterious Monkeys, only their second game coming through here, so a lot still to grow. We did see quite a lot in game 1. I'm interested to see now as we head into the second game what they can bring to the table.
H2K looking like might be going for an invade. Jankos in the forward brush of the river. Should have just been spotted by Lamabear. Pings, though, they know where he is.
They know where he is, but
game's up.
It's not enough.
At least get a little bit of deep vision, but instead, they're actually just going to bail out right now, and they're pinging down towards the bottom side to reset right now. I guess one thing you can do when you're one game up in a lead against a team that may not be able to react as quickly is pull off a little bit of stuff like that. You might get a kill, you might get a flash. Doesn't hurt.
Oh, speaking of might get a flash,
CozQ
might be caught here.
Oh, he eats the present. There's a lantern, though. Unfortunately, Dreams had to take that level 1.
Yeah, that means no Flay, which means no hook now until level 3. Reduces kill pressure in that bottom lane here. More defensive start out of Yuki and Dreams. Of course, Exhaust was used by Chei in exchange, but now that you see that there's going to be no aggression, Exhaust maybe not quite so necessary at this point. A couple of minutes and it'll be back available.
Not the easiest start for sure. It's going to be difficult to wear through Chei in any case, even with Yuki able to pump out the arrows. Starting things off, Odoamne is going to give a little bit of an assist to Jankos on the Raptor camp with the Winds of War. Lamabear solo. Actually going to be a while before both top laners make it up there, and once again, ooh, Yuki getting tagged by the Winter's Bite. Chei really threading the needle between the minion waves.
Yeah, managing to just get a little bit of harass through as Odoamne has been blocked from lane. Won't work for too long against Galio, as Galio will just be able to walk through. But the thing is, both of them aren't really in lane. Odoamne's had enough of this, just wants to walk through. But look how well Jisu's trading at first. They're going towards Odoamne's tower, though.
It's a good start.
Yeah, that is a good start. Already burns a health potion, and of course, Jisu utilizing that Doran's shield will be able to regen that up. Despite obviously having the trading potential, it still does give you health regeneration for 5 as a standard that will always be ticking as long as Jisu is missing health.
Oh yeah, we always think about the AD carries being the one picking it up nowadays, but Jisu, as he dodges with the taunt to get in onto Odoamne's face, he forces a flash to start things off.
Yeah, I mean, we thought that Odoamne perhaps wasn't too bothered about the lack of entry to his lane, but it turns out well in Jisu's favor now. Will Odoamne try and bait Jisu in? There's the taunt used. Jankos is coming topside.
Justice Punch, Flash, Cocoon, and that's a first blood. Jankos turning it right again.
That's how you get a little bit baited up in the top side. Odoamne says, okay, if I play stupid, maybe Jisu will come and try and think he can solo kill me in lane. Sees the opportunity. Unfortunately, Jisu goes right towards it. It's an easy mind game out of Odoamne at that point.
Yep. He likes it, so he put another ring on it. Level 2 with the double Doran. It's going to be hard for Jisu to match early on, but he was getting a good 1v1 going. I wouldn't be too surprised if Jankos commits a little more energy up towards the top. He does clear the ward away outside the red pit, but he won't find too much more, except perhaps waiting a little while.
Lamabear did ping that Jankos is very likely on Krugs. I don't think he got spotted by the minion wave because he used the blast gun to get over the back. So Jisu should be aware of this, and he is looking to put down a ward. Yeah. He has spotted out Jankos, so no second kill going up into that top side, but still, from what should have been a great lane start for Jisu, unfortunately, goes back in favor of Odoamne.
Yeah, a little bit of help from Jankos goes a long way sometimes. Dream's moving forward. Looks like he's going to try to secure some vision of his own. And actually, as the blast cone is popped, Lamabear is signaling they might want to make a play down bottom side. Maybe he's just going to secure the vision out of the Scuttle Crab.
Yeah, well, we saw that work very well in the first game. Ward did just die where Lamabear was treading towards the bottom side. So he has been spotted out. Should mean no real aggression in the bot lane. Lamabear peels back away, however, Jankos...
Oh, nice dodge by CozQ on the cocoon. Can't get away from the spiraling very easily, but he's going to be backing away. We haven't talked about this mid matchup just yet. However, CozQ on this very comfortable champion, it could start to turn in his favor for sure. We'll still have to wait a while before that happens. Down to the bottom, Chei playing very aggressive on this Braum, jumping forward and trying to knock the Winter's Bite straight to the face.
You can see, though, that Mysterious Monkey's not really too caring about that. They had wards down in the bottom lane, but you mentioned the mid lane matchup. Well, last game, it went heavily in favor of Febiven. Started with a CS lead, which was maintained throughout the entire game, and then CozQ desperately trying to get anything from the game later on, trying to get kills, but you can see mostly ended up getting a lot more deaths than anything.
And that was when early in lane, he wasn't looking too shabby. He got a little help from Lamabear. Jisu was coming in, and he was able to clean up at least one kill of his own, and a couple went the way of his supporting cast as well. But then he just kept jumping in on 4-mans. So CozQ really going all deep, and the hook from Dreams won't connect. He does get a play out, however. Nuclear and Chei are not phased by that.
Yeah, Nuclear and Chei playing very consistently in this bottom lane. And that's one thing we were talking about in spring. Nuclear and Chei, hey, they're going to be solid. We're expecting them to be the second best bot lane, perhaps, in Europe. And they didn't really show us that. They were always defensive. They were always not really looking for kills. And then in the playoffs, they started to fall apart, but I think this is the Nuclear and Chei that now, with a little more time with H2K, they seem to have come alive. Chei's champion pool isn't necessarily just about playing Karma or Zyra. He gets a Thresh, he gets a Braum, these picks that can be a little bit more tanky and a little bit more in your face.
Definitely seems to have suited his style. And speaking of in your face, Jankos is not going to let up the pressure up topside, going the long route as Jisu is finding it harder and harder to trade up against Odoamne here, but the spider is waiting in the brush and the minions are running out. This could be the death knell for Jisu. Part 2, out of the brushes comes death, and here we go. Justice punch in, sink the fangs. Jankos claims another.
This time it's H2K turning their attention to Jisu to say welcome to the LCS. They gave him a lead in the bottom lane, in the top lane, but it's not quite enough. He's been easily taken care of, and Lamabear seems to be a little bit in a struggling position. Hasn't even out-farmed Jankos, and Jankos has picked up 2 kills alongside it.
Well, he's certainly a lot less mobile as Jankos went for the early Moby boot start. Still no boots on for Lamabear, but he's going to get found up by Chei, tagged up by the Winter's Bite, and all of a sudden, the element of surprise is gone.
Feels like Mysterious Monkeys, at least in this series, have been a lot more successful playing around their bottom lane than playing around anywhere else, which is a departure from the playoff performance that we saw. They did well, but it was more about CozQ, about Pridestalker working together, but now this Mysterious Monkey seems to be a little bit of a different focus that actually works for them.
CozQ is going to be able to pick up a blue buff for himself, and he hasn't had too much pressure on his shoulders this game. Last game it was a little bit of a different story, so maybe if they do take that off, Lamabear can keep to the bottom side, but you can already see Jankos is there. Now Jisu and Odoamne juking it out again, but you got taunts on taunts both way around, and it's a level advantage to Odoamne. Jisu's not going to be able to trade as well as he was at level 1.
And you can see Odoamne picked up a Glacial Shroud, a little bit of cooldown reduction, some mana, some armor in there. And trying to just defend somewhat against Jisu, but also will have impact later on in the game as well. Not rushing the Righteous Glory like Jisu did in game number 1. A little bit more conventional out of Odoamne. A couple of Galios building that Abyssal Scepter in there as well. So we'll see how Odoamne builds. Wonder whether he goes to the Chachi school of thought of get an Iceborne Gauntlet, get a Medjai's, get anything that deals damage.
Chachi, by the way, out of all the Galio games we've seen across all the regions that have started to play in Summer, he's the only one that actually built a Medjai so far. And that just kind of exemplifies him, doesn't it?
Well, he's the MVP of last split. Yep. Not in this game, so we can leave Chachi for when Chachi's playing. But Jankos, he's a man that has a couple of times been close towards that MVP voting for his First Blood King performances, but
he's been stepping it up in this series as well. We saw First Blood, you know, almost taken first time around. This time he did get it, and it looks like for the time being it's all focused up top lane as Odoamne actually does get taken a little bit low. We don't usually talk about two tanks kind of, you know, beating down on each other as being an exciting fixture of the opening part of a match, but in this case there's real kill pressure. The Galio's on both sides.
Yeah, and I mean, Jankos has been up in top lane already twice. This would be a third time, and Febiven's roaming as well. Ward was placed to spot Febiven out, and Jankos backed away from the situation because even Jisu could recognize something was going wrong. He pulled away from the top side. Means he's not going to die a third time. Febiven easily able to pick up his blue, but H2K very composed in the early part of this game. There's not a lot of threat from Jisu, but if Mysterious Monkeys can make a play onto the bot side with this Shen, maybe get the Cassiopeia there somehow, that would be their way of building back into this game.
Jisu's got to have some pressure let up on him before he can make that play, though. Unfortunately, you can't get into the action when you're busy fighting. And Jankos is coming up through for a lane gank, or at least going around the side. This time, Lamabear's in the area.
Yeah, as Jankos will run into him. Uses that spiderling just to check exactly where Lamabear is. Mid lane, there's another trade. CozQ trying to get out of the disco.
And he doesn't quite connect on the Petrifying Gaze. Has to force out a flash and a heal. He was slithering a little too far forward on that one. And with Chei tagging his way in, it just seems H2K have the number of the monkeys. 10 minutes into this game, it's only 2 kills to 0, but that gold lead is just enough for them, and they can get some free pressure on the mid now. CozQ is locked up under tower.
It's going to be a fun split casting Mysterious Monkeys. A lot of Jungle Book puns you can make on this one.
Oh, we have not
really
even tipped the iceberg.
But Jankos is going top, doesn't care for puns, wants to push down the first turret.
Oh boy. Jisu stopped up. He does get the taunt, but there is no more tower, and he's taunted himself. Knocked up. Winds of War flashes the minion damage, and he takes the Lantern out to safety as Lamabear gets away. Dreams is saving lives this series.
Yeah, Dreams doing a good job, but H2K is still focused on these towers. Mid tower is already so low. Febiven, again, at least showing dominance in this middle lane. Game 1 was through CS lead. Game 2 is through tower health lead. And remember, Mysterious Monkeys were only able to get a tower because they stole a Rift Herald away from H2K in Game 1. Oh, stun does land.
All right, can't lantern yourself out, unfortunately, but he does give himself a shield. H2K fixated on this mid turret, but the wave has been cleared away. And this clears away the chance for H2K to get their hands on the Ocean Dragon if they want it.
Unfortunately, CozQ, for the start of this game, has been about as successful against Febiven as Ka was against Mowgli.
So you're gonna start rolling him out slow. I see.
Just not too many.
That's a spoiler, by the way. It's only a couple years old. The new one.
The new one. Yeah, only a couple like decades.
Let people enjoy things. All right. So right now, mid lane under threat constantly. Dragon available. Wards all through their jungle. What do the monkeys need to do right now?
Well, right now they need to somehow make a play based around Jisu evening up, or at least giving them the numbers advantage. It's difficult against the Galio, because Galio can do basically the same kind of thing.
I mean, they gave this away, too.
Yeah, it's another team that has given away the Galio, but I think the Mysterious Monkeys figured that having Shen in response to them was a successful counter, because remember, the last game, the Shen was banned, the Fiora was banned. Unfortunately, Flash Taunt means Cassiopeia
does get the gaze off.
Anything.
Unfortunately, no follow-up up and available, so not only the insult, of course, losing your cooldown on top of your life. CozQ's not having a great game, but the saving grace here is he's stacking his tier. He's working his way towards, hey, hold on, I got more. He's working his way towards the Route of Ages. He's got a late game, unlike the LeBlanc.
Oh, that's silver lining. That right
hey,
there.
Hey, that's what I do, Stress.
Yeah, that's... Doesn't matter that he died and used ult. And he's got no summoners.
That was one more tick on his tier, come on.
Yeah, that was worth it. Anyway, well, H2K, the silver lining for them is they're a game up, and they have 3 kills up, 2 towers up, and Mysterious Monkeys nearly 4,000 gold down. Lamabear jumps in.
Looks for Jankos, plays back. The blue buff is secured in all of the craziness as Yuki gets found by Nuclear and stopped by Chei. In comes the Galio to turn things once again. Lamabear, he thought he was getting a kill, but instead the hunter becomes the hunted. Dreams falling. 2 kills for the Lucian and 1 for Febiven. H2K just keep on eating them up here. 13 minutes into this game. That's 6 kills to none.
Yeah, this is another series where game 1 looks close and game 2
doesn't.
The victors from game 1 just say, okay, we figured out exactly how you play now, and just start crushing the early game. H2K did against Splice on day 1, and now they're doing it against the Mysterious Monkeys on day 3 of the EU LCS Summer split. This is a big statement, taking down 2 teams. H2K looking to go 4-0 on the week.
Yeah, script working out well for them this time.
Yeah, well,
see Chei and Jankos. It really looked close for just a moment, but H2K's collapse was so much better.
Yeah, H2K easily collapsed, punishing the Mysterious Monkeys in their own territory. The slowest heroic entrance ever, because it was from right next to where it was cast, but nevertheless, it looks stylish from Odoamne getting into the fight. And H2K are in a fantastic position, and you got to give them credit for at least recognizing where they were in the beginning. We're going to super speed back to where we were. There we go.
And we're live.
Back to live.
Sometimes we time travel a little bit. Pay it no mind.
Just got to peel back the curtain a little bit. Some of that magic. You got to show them how one of the tricks is done every now and again. But Mysterious Monkeys, they're looking to pull a rabbit out of the hat.
Well, no mystery about how they're going to get it done. They need to start turning around.
Hats, I would imagine.
Well, and these guys are still tenacious, you know, as you mentioned, that they always have a way to fight back. We saw in game 1, we were seeing them kind of noted for that even in, you know, Challenger when they were having some rough games of their own. But 15 minutes into this one, this is going to be a hell of a hill to climb.
I feel like Rift Herald might need glasses, because a lot of the time it just charges at walls. People just sidestep and runs into a wall. I feel sorry. Do they not have, like, healthcare on the Rift? Like,
you know, I honestly don't think there's a whole lot of healthcare available for neutral minions and for Rift Herald.
For any minions,
no, so
really,
you were saying glasses. I think he needs some, like, serious, like, medical attention, because that is a lot of blunt force trauma every game.
That's why it's got that big armored carapace.
I don't know, man.
It's
Concussions are serious business.
That is true.
All right, CozQ getting chaosed. Well, and here comes the Herald.
There you go.
Charge it up.
In a second. Got a little bit distracted, but there's that massive impact. You can pretty much assume one tower goes down from a Rift Herald. This was without a minion wave, so doesn't get the tower at first. Next minion wave that pushes in, Mysterious Monkeys have already been chunked down. Might be difficult to stay behind that tower.
Yep, it's not good when it's a 5v5 in the mid lane and you're on the receiving end of all the damage. In goes the knockup. They do get a hook onto the Galio. Nice stun by CozQ, but the tower falls nonetheless. And H2K don't lose a man. Mysterious Monkeys lose their tower.
H2K's Rift Heralds have been quite labored processes. The one against Splice that did almost nothing and got one tower just barely.
Where they procced it and then just like walked away?
Yeah, because it was about to time out. Then in the last game, having it stolen away. This game, it doesn't even take the tower. Whereas Fnatic are like, let's show you how you do it.
I mean, it is kind of in vein with what we've seen H2K do around that side of the map. They've had troubles with Baron. It only makes sense they'd have troubles with Herald as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of true. It's interesting how the teams are playing around Rift Herald. H2K have been a team that have prioritized it, but haven't depended on it, in the sense that one tower for them is fine, and that's what a lot of teams believe. Chachi, again, in the interview I was talking about, was speaking about how, to his mind, Rift Herald actually isn't that good enough of an objective, because in order to take it, it does slow down your tempo. And really only gets you one tower. Now, if you're ahead and you have the tempo advantage, you can continue to advance your lead. But actually putting emphasis on Rift Herald in an even game can cost you, even when you think that one tower would be a great thing to pick up.
Very true. But Chachi, of course, you know, he's a man who thinks about the game on a different level than most of the top laners. We have, you know, harked to him a little bit this series, but Odoamne, another very experienced top laner, and it seems like H2K, they're not shying away from that objective whenever they can get it, but they like to play the neutral game. As Febiven was a little caught out trying to play it himself, and he might go down. A big investment, but the Monkeys get a kill.
A little bit of a taste of something we saw in game 1, where Febiven did have 2 isolated deaths in that first game. It's only 2 deaths. This time trying to push up through mid lane, thinking he's a little safer than perhaps he actually was, and Mysterious Monkeys do pick up a kill to slow down H2K ever so slightly.
Thought he was going to be safe enough and get out. He has a little extra move speed courtesy of the other wisp, but it just wasn't enough, and he popped everything to try to get out of there, but the Monkeys were able to ambush him all the same. 18 minutes on the clock, and Monkeys finally on the board, but they have a lot of work to do if they want to come back into this game.
Good warding now through bottom side means H2K can continue to push despite not having their mid laner anywhere near them. They were able to put damage down onto the tower. Now they can reset some of the vision control. This was a Febiven. This is what he saw.
Oh, look, a ward.
And then, oh look, a jungle. Tried to stay alive. Good damage out onto Dreams, but unfortunately not to be, as Febiven would end up dropping. And I kind of want to see Febiven throughout the split putting up real big performances, because I think everybody still looks at Febiven and Perks and says, okay, we think they're the best guys in mid lane. But I feel like Exile to me has been more of a standout player.
In the spring split, it's absolutely true. I mean, Febiven, a lot of people remember his time on Fnatic, especially when he first came in and he was playing things like Xerath and just knocking people down left and right.
Dominating.
Yeah, completely crushing it. And this was in the heyday of Fnatic with the Huni Reignover combination. And it just hasn't quite been the same on H2K.
But I feel like we saw an evolution where Febiven was very consistent for H2K. He may not necessarily be going 10-0, but you could rely on him never to lose lane, pretty much, and to beat most mid laners in the league. So I think in that respect, Febiven did evolve as a player into a little bit of a different player than he was on Fnatic. So I do like those advancements, but much like Perks talked about, bringing back that mechanical skill, that's what I want to see a little bit more from Febiven showcasing in games. Jisu take a while to die in the top lane.
Yeah, this is pretty mechanical as well. Just keep on winding it. Jisu's still tanking.
They
actually let him get away, but he's going the wrong way. So that's going to be Febiven's kill. There you go. He's got 3 stress.
And they managed, I believe, to pick up the dragon on the bottom side. Mysterious Monkeys weren't able to contest that either. I think Jankos was the one to take that away.
It's the same strategy. Gank the teleport. He can't join the party if he's the one under fire. So Mysterious Monkeys once again find themselves 4 members strong only. And CozQ, it might be 3 in just a second. He goes in, takes the lantern. The hero's entrance is going to whiff there. And they get the Chains of Corruption on to stop up Nuclear. But CozQ is having to slither away to safety. Dreams tanking all the skill shots. And Baron is live, Stress.
Yeah, they pushed them back. CozQ is very low here. Yuki, again, no flash. Dreams, no flash. This is very reminiscent of the Baron from game number 1, where Mysterious Monkeys don't have an opportunity to contend. Save from Lamabear actually jumping in and getting a smite steal, but look how far away he is. He's been distracted. There's a taunt available. Lamabear can't even jump in yet.
Oh, and Dreams just goes down. Talk about insult to injury. He's going to try to go in with the submarine. He's not going to do it. Jankos this time hits the right smite. And now Jisu, it was a one-way trip, but he is trying to keep himself alive, flashing over the wall back into the rest of the team. But H2K securing Baron at 21.5.
Oh, CozQ has that Banshee's Veil. Rod of Ages is stacking up as well. So playing for the very late game off double stacking items.
They may not get there.
And a slightly more defensive item alongside. Kinda low on AP, for now at least, is CozQ, but later on he will have a little bit more bite in those Twin Fangs.
Yeah, really playing all the cards towards CozQ, trying to make sure he survives long enough to be relevant, but his Jisu's been bullied the whole time, and here he tried to make the big play, but it was pretty much over before it began.
Yeah, so I like what Mysterious Monkeys are trying to do here. Get the Shen shield on Lamabear, try and get him in, and flash back out, but Lamabear jumps in, a little early, smites down. There was still like 400 health even after the smite. It's a tough thing to steal away a Baron with any kind of success rate, but H2K secure Baron. They're now able to look to close this game out.
Yep. Nice effort by Lamabear, but this is what we talked about in the beginning, not having the stage experience. Sure, like everybody's been in those solo queue situations where you can steal a Baron away, but trying to do it against a coordinated team like H2K, that's another story.
Yeah, absolutely is. Now as H2K look to close in on another tower. With this Baron buff, 2 minutes still remain, so they should be able to just push this one through. Cassiopeia obviously does have a decent amount of wave clear alongside that Varus, but H2K aren't going to be deterred from it.
No, they can just sit back, let the cannon creep do its job. It's powered just outside the range of the tower. And now Mysterious Monkeys with no wave left of them realize they have to concede this one, yielding it away. 9-1 is the kill score. 6-0 are the towers. H2K have everything they need, and they're looking for a new pair of snakeskin boots. Not going to get it just yet. Here we go, stunned up on both sides. Jankos, he doesn't even mind his dreams is getting taken out. Nuclear on a rampage. Teleport coming in for Jisu, but it might be too little. It might be too late. He gets a two-man taunt, but it doesn't matter. Cleansed on out. Yuki picking up Febiven on the back half of it all, but it's not going to mean a damn thing as Lamabear is left to try and clean up the mess, but there's nothing doing.
Yeah, at this point, Mysterious Monkeys can't hold on this defense. Odoamne has his teleport available, so as soon as that Empowered Recall finishes, he should be able to get back into this one. H2K may play it out safely, but Mysterious Monkeys really up against it. 13,000 gold down. It's surely just a matter of time now before H2K walk into the base. I think you can commend the performance out of Mysterious Monkeys, at least in the sense that they were putting up a fight, always trying to contend against H2K, but when you're up against one of the top 4 teams people expect in the EU LCS, it is difficult to convert any kind of advantage into a game-winning lead, and H2K have done that very well themselves, and this was exactly how they crushed through the inhibitor. Look how long it takes for anyone on H2K to die here. Chei is able to beautifully disrupt the fight. Yuki drops low. CozQ was zoned out of the fight for quite a long time before Odoamne can actually pick up the kill. Damage reduction comes on. Odoamne comes in, is able to deny Jisu anything more in this fight, and H2K get the first inhibitor of this game.
Easy peasy. So they've walked in the bottom more than once this series, and now with 25 minutes on the clock with a sizable lead, they're looking to end this one out here. Mysterious Monkey slowly giving the ground as CozQ coming in. He needed all the time in the world to try and scale up, but it's just not going to be enough. Miasma down, but with the minions marching, H2K just don't seem to care here. Continuing to pound away at this turret. And the ground is giving way under the feet of the monkeys.
You can see how powerful Nuclear is. Ooh, CozQ gets the stun.
Just on Chei, though, and he throws down the Unbreakable. There goes everything. The Chaos Storm, the hero's entrance. Everyone's out of harm's way, but that's going to open up yet another inhibitor. H2K have everything they want right now, and they could even go clean it up with themselves another Infernal Dragon.
Yeah, at this point, it's just the Baron has run out for them. So reset everything, try and get back in. Mysterious Monkeys, this time 0 towers. That'll mean if the game state ends like this against H2K over 2 games, they secured a single tower.
On a Rift Herald steal.
Yeah, because they stole Rift Herald, which was an impressive steal.
But you need to come up with a lot more than that. I mean, it is always rough. Like, it was always going to be a hard ride for the Monkeys to try and fight up against H2K. You know, a perennial playoff team, always looking strong, coming back and trying to redeem themselves after the playoff performance that they definitely didn't want, but it's difficult. They did manage to catch Febiven. He had the cleanse up and available, didn't need to use it right there, it looked like, and they are going to be able to just melt through health bars. Dreams will be the first to fall, followed shortly by Lamabear. And CozQ, pop down, double kill for Nuclear. Jisu looks to be next, and they're going to teleport in right behind Yuki, and there is nowhere to go. Oh, baby, that's a Nuclear triple.
This is less Jungle Book, and H2K is saying, welcome to the jungle that is the EU LCS. We're here, we're going to take our second series of the summer split to go 4-0 on the week.
Perfect week for H2K right now, and all it's left is for them to just polish off the last of the towers. They can keep stopping Jisu's backs for days. As Nuclear, they finish the ace off, it doesn't matter, so it's all going to be Nexus here. And H2K proved, not only are they hard to kill, man, they are hella hard to beat. H2K are just styling it out to finish the job. Legendary kill for Nuclear, and that's all she wrote. GG, well played.
More of the same from H2K. We saw them handily take down Splice in the second game, and they've done it again against Mysterious Monkeys this time. Nearly a 20,000 gold lead at the end of this second game. Mysterious Monkeys not even able to secure a tower, but I think they secured quite a lot of fans, even in defeat, with the performance from always trying to fight, always trying to be aggressive. But H2K, we're on another level to Mysterious Monkeys today. H2K, very solid, very clean, and looking very strong to contend against the Unicorns at the top of Group B.
Yeah, Group B could definitely turn out to be a very interesting one during this split, in H2K. You know, had some catching up to do from the spring, but they certainly managed to come up huge in this week. Very hard to criticize these guys. And it was a different player stepping up each time. On day one, we saw Chei throwing out God hooks. This time he was denied the Thresh both games, but it didn't matter. He was still able to make plays, get in the face of the enemy team. And then it was Febiven who was stepping up, Nuclear who was bullying in lane. All across the board, an impressive performance. You
can see probably pat on the back for all of the guys there.
That means they did well.
Yeah, he's not beating them around with the notebook.
He's a harsh disciplinarian, but he gives props where they're due.
Speak about Nuclear 9-0-3 at the end of that game. Picked up quite a few kills in the last fight, the last two fights, but nevertheless, that flex Lucian worked out very well for H2K. Of course, this time being put down into that bottom lane against Braum, and Nuclear seeming very comfortable. And realistically, H2K looking comfortable. 4 members of H2K did not die in that game. It was only Febiven getting caught out once and then a second kill in the fight, pretty much to end the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, man, hard to kill. There's a reason they're called that, and this was kind of a big example of it right now. But, you know, obviously this is the Monkeys' first performance. Yeah. As we said, they fought it out really, really hard. They just didn't have the coordination yet, but that's to be expected of a team fresh out of Challenger.
Yeah, to some extent, you have to look at it and say, okay, experience plays a massive part of this. And I think it's only through kind of tempering some of that aggression that we saw from CozQ. I think a lot of people, when you talk about coaching, would rather take a player that is super aggressive and has the tendency of, I think I can kill him, I think I can go in here, and actually temper that down, rather than instill that on a player that says, I'm not going to take any risks.
Well, we have no shortage of risk takers in the mid lane in Europe, but, you know.
Maybe if they can get CozQ to temper a little bit of that. On the LeBlanc, we know he can play Assassins very well. I think they're going to be an exciting team to watch. But when they'll start picking up wins, I think maybe even Splice looked a touch better. But, of course, these are from one series each. You can't make those sweeping statements that we all love to make.
Well, we did have some pretty exciting plays all across the board from the series as well, and one of them is H2K, you know, coming up really big and just rumbling through the jungle. Started up here, what looked like they were going to get caught up, but all of a sudden, Lamabear, well, he was the one that kind of got collapsed on, and the rest of the team, there was nothing doing. Yeah,
at this point, it's so difficult to actually control a fight like this against a Galio, against a Viktor that's able to, he already had that upgraded gravity field. You just can't really avoid any of the crowd control.
Weighs him down.
And H2K, once again, just continuing to take these fights. Mysterious Monkeys didn't really have anything in response.
Yeah, I mean, it was really cool to see what they were able to pull off in the early stages of Game 1, but Game 2, it really seemed like they ran out of answers, and that was kind of the issue.
Yeah, there were not a lot of answers for Mysterious Monkeys, and a lot of answers to everything that Mysterious Monkeys threw at H2K.
That's what experience will do for you. Now H2K are coming in hot here in Week 1. Let's see what their mid laner thinks after that series.